Greetings, Royals! It's Constance from QueenlyMe.com, your place for tips, insight, and information on relationships, purpose, and wellness. And today is going to be a little different. God has been instructing me heavily to write on relationships lately, but this time, he pulled a whammy out on me, y'all, and I was not ready for it, okay? I asked him a million questions, and he was like, no, you're gonna do what I said. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. My brows, thank you, Jesus. Glorifying the Lord today. Now, I personally would be straight up lying if I said I never fantasized about how nice it might be to not have to deal with the sucky parts of life. The hurt, the fear, the worry, the frustrations, the why me's, the why nots, the not agains. Sometimes it's just too much. So usually this goes without saying, but I want to make it very clear right now that what you hear from this point is God's thoughts and words as told by me. And yes, it is possible. How do you think the Bible came to be? Peter, Paul, Moses, they're not God, but God spoke through them. And in their way, they told what he said. So, with that being said, let's do this. Now, if you know anything about the character of God, you know that he is super intentional and strategic. Nothing he does is out of order or by accident. He planned each and every one of our entire lives before we were even conceived. Before your mama and daddy did what they did in order to get you ill, your life was planned. Just think about how strategic you have to be in order to create the heavens and the earth. And some of us can't even put together a coherent to-do list for the day. So being as orderly as he is, there is no way he would allow you to make it this far in your life and continue to grant you each day only to feel it with misery. He is very much invested in you specifically for a very significant reason. Now, I don't know what you're going through, but if your situation wasn't meant to be conquered and used to set other people free, then it wouldn't be allowed. It's just as simple as that. Not only does God know that you can handle it because he doesn't leave anything to chance, but he's made sure that you will come out of the situation even better than before it happened. Only God can be in the past, the present, and the future at the same time. We, on the other hand, can only see what's in front of us and what's behind us. And even a lot of our past is either forgotten or misinterpreted. That's why he instructs us to lean not into our own understanding, but in all our ways acknowledge him, and he will direct our path. We don't know what's coming, what's happening, or what's about to happen, but he does. Of course, when you're in the midst of misfortunes and tragedies, it seems like it's never going to end. But God wants you to know that you are closer to your best days than you actually think you are, even if you can't see any signs of it at all. He says that the way that everything changed for the worse is going to be the same way that everything changes for the best. Now, I don't personally know what that means. Ask God what that means for you. The worst thing that you can do is go through the struggle only to give up right before your reward. It says in Ecclesiastes 9th chapter and 11th verse that the race is not given to the swift or the strong, but to the ones who endure it until the very end. And you definitely don't want to be this guy. So while God was talking to me about this, I posed the question: if you've given us free will, then why is suicide wrong? So in true Jesus fashion, he dropped some heavy knowledge on me and then put a story to go with it. Because you know in the Bible, Jesus was notorious for preaching through parables. So this is what he said. Here is a truth that is very hard for y'all to grasp. And yes, Jesus does say y'all to me. I don't know what he says to you, but he does say y'all to me. So don't be talking about Jesus ain't say that. Yes, he did. He said, this is a truth that's very hard for y'all to grasp. You didn't create yourself, so you don't belong to you. Creations do not know what's best for themselves. Only the Creator does. So making a drastic, permanent decision with our lives like committing suicide is out of our jurisdiction. We can't possibly know enough about the future or the very situations that we're in order to make a decision like that properly. Only the giver of life should decide when life should end. And that's the problem with murder. You're putting yourself in the position of God, and he does not take kindly to people putting themselves in his position. It didn't work for Lucifer, and it's not gonna work for you. So let's say the owner of a luxury car company offers you the newest model car he has for absolutely free. We'll just say it's a Rolls Royce. So you accept it immediately because who wouldn't? And he explains that he's going to take care of the maintenance, the insurance, and anything else that you need. And all that he asks is that wherever you go, you allow others to experience the greatness of your Rolls Royce, and you tell them all the good things that the owner did for you. But after a series of events, for whatever reason, you decide that the car is no good and is hopeless. Maybe some jealous person said it was ugly and you actually believed them. Or maybe someone else shared a few Rolls Royce horror stories with you about somebody that they knew that knew somebody else that knew somebody else that had a baby daddy best friend that had a Rolls Royce, and it just turned out completely horrible. Maybe you hit a bump in the road and now the car isn't really driving as smoothly as it once did. It could be that the car fell completely apart and you don't know the first thing about what you need to do to put it back together. Whatever happened, based on what you see and what you know, you decide that you're better off without the car at all. So now you have two choices to make. You might be afraid and a little ashamed of the mess that you made with the car, but the best thing to do would be to take the car back to the owner because he knows exactly what to do to put it back together. But let's say that instead of taking it back to the owner, you rationalize that the owner gave it to you as a gift. So as far as you know, you can do whatever you want with it. So you decide that it's best just to completely throw the whole thing away because there's no way that you can see that this car can get put back together. I mean, it's completely shattered in pieces. And even the pieces that are left are all bent up and broken. Here's your plan. You drive the Rolls Royce up a mountain and you push it off a cliff, and once it hits the ground, it bursts into flames. No more Rolls Royce. So the owner finds you and asks what happened to the car. And you explain everything, and although it makes perfect sense, you notice that the owner has this look of despair on his face, and eventually he just hangs his head and just rests his face in his hands. He proceeds to remind you of the contract that you signed in order to get the gift. It came with a lifetime replacement insurance. So even if the car was completely totaled, even if you brought whatever pieces you had left back to him, he would have completely replaced it with a brand new car at no charge to you whatsoever. And he explains that although the car was a gift, it wasn't yours to destroy. You had a purpose to fulfill with that car. It was so that others could notice your amazing gift, have an opportunity to learn about the owner, and then go seek the owner for their own amazing car. But destroying the car made the contract null and void. So even though the car was completely bought and paid for, now you have to pay for the car in full. So in this example, the owner, of course, is God, our creator, and then the gift, the car, is the gift of life. And I know a lot of times living might seem like more of a curse than it is a gift. And sometimes the very things that you see and that you hear from others only confirms this. That is just completely hopeless. But during these times, God intends for us to bring our lives back to Him so that He can put it back together again. And every time that we bring Him the broken fragments of our lives, He revives it, He restores it, and He refreshes it so that others may see it, be blessed by it, and seek Him for new life as well. This is why He's so invested in you, because He knows the impact that your life is going to have on everybody that you come into contact with. But if you walk away from that, then that purpose will go unfulfilled, and you will have caused many others to miss out on the miracle of your life and experiencing their own miracles as well. I know it's kind of cliche, but every day really is a gift, because it means that God still believes in that purpose that He put on the inside of you, and that all of His promises made to you in His word still stand. The Bible says that many people do in fact get punished for what they don't know. So make a point to know the promises of God and the blessings that await you every time you choose not to give up. And when you get an understanding of those things, you won't have a choice but to always, each and every time, conclude that you're better off alive. We may not always understand our situations and why things happen, or even our own thoughts. But when nothing else makes sense and everything seems bad, we can always trust God to be good and to bring good out of the circumstances that we're in. We won't always be able to understand the why, but as long as we know the who God is and who we are in Him, then that's the truth that's gonna push us through and into another day of living out the purpose that God is so invested in. I've included a link in the description box that has a list of scriptures for not giving up and what God's promises actually are to you. There's also a link for some tips and ideas for getting your sparkle of life back. And there's also a link to a website for if you need to talk to someone, like right now, and any other time you need to talk to someone. I pray that this blessed you, and I pray that you received what message it was that God was trying to get to you. If you want to submit a prayer request to me, then go ahead and just send me a message or email me at constance@queenlyme.com. You can also go to Instagram at queenly.constance and send me a message that way. However you want to do it, I will definitely intercede on your behalf. I love you guys. I'll see you next week.